Well, greetings, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Topic UFO. I am your host, Rick Schooler. Before I get started tonight, I'd just like to apologize and say thank you for everyone that has stood by these last few weeks of no shows. I ran into a little bit of a medical issue at the end of August, and it kind of knocked me for a loop for about 3 weeks. But I've gotten through it, and we are back, and we are now back to producing new shows. So I want to just say thank you for everyone's patience. Tonight, we're going to be talking to a group of people. They were basically a group of campers that left their home in Kansas City, Missouri, headed west to the Rockies in Colorado for a few days of for camping and relaxation, and they spotted something, and they've got it on tape, and they've got a few pictures. There has been a MUFON report made. In fact, there have been a couple of MUFON reports made. They were not the only party to see these objects. So I'm very interested in getting the whole story on this. I believe we're going to have two of the overall group that went out camping. This happened back on September 2nd, just a few weeks ago. So September 2nd of 2014, approximately midnight, 12:30 a.m., somewhere in that time frame. And so one of the folks contacted me to tell me about it, sent me the videos and some still photographs. Now, I will say these videos are taken with an iPhone, so they're a little hard to make out. But I think with some slowing down of the video, some zooming in, perhaps showing some histograms of the still images, I think you're going to see that these are not airplanes, they are not helicopters. What they are, I do not know. I think MUFON has not even begun the investigation quite yet. We'll find out about that. So anyway, this happened out in the kind of the northern part of the Colorado Rockies, and there was a group of campers. We're going to have two of them with us tonight via Skype to tell us all about it. So don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
This is where America's peace of mind begins. Around the clock, radar's electronic eyes watch the skies and report what they see to SAGE, Defense System of the United States Air Force. Here is a SAGE center on 24-hour alert. At its heart is a computer developed by a research team from MIT and IBM working with the Air Force. The SAGE computer speeds the information for decisions by man in our missile age. Every scheduled flight across American frontiers is recorded ahead of time on IBM punch cards, then fed into the SAGE computer. Now the computer can draw a picture of what is supposed to be in the sky at any moment. It continually compares this expected picture with the real picture as seen by radar. If a flying object does not belong, it appears on this viewing screen. There's one now at the right of the screen. They call it a blip. Unknown flying object. Friend or foe? Within seconds, the Air Force will know. The officer fires a light gun at the target blip. This tells the computer to track the object. At the launching site, a long-range Bombark missile is ready for firing. Now they ask the computer to calculate an intercept point. X marks the spot where the Bombark missile would meet the moving target if fired immediately. The officer in charge makes the final decision. Fire. At the moment of launching, the Bombark missile receives instructions from the IBM computer. As the missile screams toward target, radar keeps on tracking. With electronic control, the computer automatically adjusts the missile to meet any change in the target flight. There is no escape. Intercept. This was a test, one of many successful tests of the Sage Beaumark security team, our new system of air defense. To be ready for the worst, so that the worst will never happen, America is now armed with instant electronic reflexes. The Sage computer, made by IBM, is another example of the vast new powers that man can achieve through the creative use of his mind. Strength for national defense. Speed for informed decisions. Service for a growing America. This is IBM, freeing man's mind to shape the future.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. As I said, tonight we're going to be talking to not just one guest, but two guests that were part of this camping expedition, I guess you would say, just back about 4 weeks ago, September 2nd, 2014. So this is a very recent sighting here. Tonight we're going to be speaking to Mr. Chris Turner and Mr. Jake Haire, and they were part of this camping group that actually got to see this object. So, Chris, Jake, are you out there, sirs?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, Rick?
Hey, guys.
Glad to be here.
Thanks so much for number one, contacting me to let me know about this sighting, and then, of course, for coming on the show. Now, Chris and Jake, you guys, I guess, along with, I'm not sure how many people were on this camping trip altogether, but you're from Kansas City, and you decided to go west and take a camping trip somewhere up in the Rockies of Colorado. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. That's correct. I'd never been to Colorado. Jake had been asking me for a while to go out there, and I just, there was a chance of a lifetime to go out there and see the mountains and, have a good time. And we went out there, and we didn't expect to see, what we saw out there, but it was definitely interesting, whatever it was. It was definitely pretty cool.
Now, exactly where were you, or give us the area of which you were in, where you were camping at?
Well, one of the locals recommended a lake to go fishing at, so we went to Lake Lucy, which is just outside, it's just on the cusp of Estes Park and Rocky Mountain National Forest. And we camped right around in a campground just at mile marker 9. What road was that?
Was it? I thought it was road. Was it P?
And it was right around Lake Lucy in Estes Park and Rocky Mountain National Forest.
Gotcha. And I believe Chris sent us a picture of the actual campground, so I'll pull that up right now so the viewers can see that. Now,
we really didn't expect to go to that particular campground. We were kind of, trying to camp somewhere cheap, and like you said, there were some people that were telling us where to camp, and we were going to go there, and we were kind of going that direction. And right as we were going there, we saw, a camping site that was fit what we needed, and and it was cheap, so we just pulled in off to the side right there, and we found a good spot.
So now, are you guys like avid campers, or is this something that you do once every so often, or what?
Once every so often.
Yeah.
It was actually all of our first time in Colorado.
Right.
And it was our only night we had actually
camped. We both like to fish and everything like that. We love the outdoors, but we never camped in Colorado like that before, so it was definitely the first time to do that.
Okay, and just so that we're clear here, you didn't stop by any of the new stores in Denver on your way.
Well,
okay, we won't go there. We won't go there. But we know the sighting wasn't based on anything like that, because There's video. So I was giving you a hard time, guys. I was just.
That's all good.
Okay, so how many people exactly were in the group completely?
There was three of us. We had another friend that couldn't be here tonight that went out there with us to camp. There was people camping all around us, so I wasn't surprised that somebody else had filed this with MUFON because there was people all over the place. Like I said before, I told you that the guy next to us was snoring in a tent. I was about to go wake him up and have him come out and see what we were looking at because it was crazy, man. I couldn't believe it.
So now, did this happen the very first night?
The first couple nights we were there, we stayed with a friend up in Fort Collins, in a house, and then we went. This was the first night we were actually camping under the stars.
And that's when this is when you saw it.
Yeah, we just gotten our fire kind of started and our firewood together. Wanted to keep warm because it was getting cold up there in the mountains at nighttime that part of the year. So we got our fire going, and it floated over the tree line, over the trees at first, and we all kind of saw it, and we weren't sure if it was maybe an airplane or something at first. And I just kept staring at it in the corner of my eye, watching it go off in the distance. I hadn't told the other guys yet that I was still checking this thing out, and finally I just got the nerve and said, "Man, you guys got to come over here and look at this. What is this I'm looking at?" So
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up some video that you sent me.
Go ahead.
And I just want to let the viewers know I'm going to show this at normal focus, normal depth, distance away. But it is a little hard to make out because they appear to be little flashes of very bright white light. And then I will zoom in and kind of try to stabilize a little bit and let you see that as well. So going back now, it's your first night camping on your little trip. What time at night did you first notice it? And you said it was going over the trees. Was it fairly close? How far away do you estimate?
It was hard to judge the distance when it was coming over the trees, but it kind of looked like when a plane was coming in for a landing and it's flying real low. Mm-hmm. And, it's not like a couple thousand feet in the air. It might just be a couple hundred feet up in the air. It wasn't really that high. And it just came over the trees, and it kind of went off to the distance to where you couldn't really maybe tell if it was a planet or a star, but you could still see all the color inside of it, and you could definitely tell it wasn't a normal craft. It didn't appear to be a normal plane the way it was, bright and pulsating and all the color inside of it. And it was like bobbing up and down like a balloon, like it was like swaying, all over the place. It just kept swaying. And I think that's what caught everybody's attention. We were just like, this is something special, something out of the ordinary here, unidentified.
Now, in part of one of the videos, one thing that I couldn't help but notice is that this, now I don't know if this was caused by you shaking of your camera phone or what, but it sure seemed like this object was blinking and then it would be completely across the field of vision and blink again. It was like all over the place. Is that actually what happened, or is that more of a camera anomaly?
No, it actually, I was holding it pretty still. I mean, it might have just barely been kind of moving it, but it was all over the place. There was at least two of them for sure that we saw, and the one that just disappeared on us and didn't last very long at all, that one was dancing all over the place. It was just dancing around like a jumping jack or something, and it was just gone. And it was really hard to capture that one because it took off so quick, but it definitely looked crazy.
Well, one thing, Chris, that you and I talked about earlier, excuse me, was that some people might look at this thing and say, "Oh, it was a drone," but I just do not see a drone being able to move that quickly. I guess maybe if there were two of them and they were strobing the same thing, maybe that could happen. But what's your thoughts? If people say, hey, what you saw may have been a drone, what would you say?
I don't personally think it was a drone. If it was something else that our government had that we don't know about or something, maybe that's possible. But it didn't appear to me to be a drone. I mean, I was in the military for a little while, and I never saw anything like that ever. Besides other videos that other people have shared with this whole UFO phenomenon going on. Being from Kansas City, they got a lot of activity here, so I've kind of done the research a little bit to see what people are looking at and what's going on around here, and it definitely fit the description of what other people have been looking at and what's been kind of getting everyone's attention. It did not look like a drone at all. I don't think they can control flares that way or drones that way or anything like that, because that one that was just dancing all over the place and shot off, there's just no way.
So now, Chris, were you the first one to notice it?
We kind of noticed it all at the same time, but I kept looking at it, as it was going off in the distance, and it kept appearing to me to not be normal. And that's when I grabbed Jake over here and had him come over and stand up with me and actually look at it, and we just kept staring at it.
So Jake, what was your initial thought?
Well, I did see it fly over us, and initially I just thought it was some aircraft, like a plane or something, and I didn't follow it until Chris had brought me over and said, and we stared at it, and our other friend, we were all in a maze of trying to figure out what it is that is hovering over at a distance. And my initial thoughts were, I was doubting that it was some unidentified object. I was, until it started to move a lot, and then our other friend, as a little bit later, she spotted a second aircraft that was coming from the south over the mountains towards us.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
As she pointed it out, we all took our attention to it, and it then started to fly to the west. And as it was flying to the west, as we saw it go through the sky, it wasn't flying straight like a plane. It was bouncing as it was flying back and forth, and as it was going west, I'd never seen anything like it. And
wow.
As it got into the west of the mountains, we kept watching it. Chris was recording it at the time, and then it just shot off, darted, and we lost sight of it. And that right there was what made me believe. And then we went back to the first unidentified object in the sky, and it had moved to a different location, but yet still hovering, and you could see it hovering above the mountains as we looked into the distance. It mind-blowing.
Unbelievable. Now,
definitely crazy.
One thing we did talk also about, Chris, was where NORAD is located, in conjunction where you guys were camping. And from what I've been able to figure out, using Google Maps, etc., so NORAD, or Cheyenne Mountain, is approximately 116 miles southeast of where you guys were camping.
Okay.
The fact that this thing came from the south over the mountains, I wonder if that's just a coincidence or what.
Well, a lot of things, I'm sure you've talked to people, and Margie on your show last time is saying a lot of activity around the Lake Ammunition Plant. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is something, you know, from another world or something. It definitely seems like they're interested in our bases and you know what we have.
So now, Chris, I'm assuming that you've been into ufology for a while. I know that, you know, you are a viewer of Topic UFO, so obviously you've had some interest in UFOs. Jake, Jake, what about you? Were you into ufology or UFOs?
No, not at all.
And did this change your attitude?
Absolutely, yeah. The first show I saw, Chris showed me a week ago.
Yeah.
And my views are completely different. And, you know, until you see it for yourself, just like most people, it's hard to believe it until you see it.
And our other friend, I could tell she kind of felt the same way. You know, whenever, you know, she'd come over, I'd be watching the show or things about it. But out there, you know, when it was going on, I think I could tell she was a little concerned about, you know, what we were seeing.
Yeah.
You know, being out there, you know, kind of alone and, you know, what was going on. Definitely was weird, especially since there was more than one. And they were giving us a hell of a light show.
Yeah, I mean, the strobing is what is so bizarre. And then there is a section there where it turns almost a little yellowish, the light, and it's dancing around just all over the place. Just strange movement. Now, Jake, you said that the object actually flew over you guys?
The very first one, it flew from the west, heading east over us, and it had circled around and hovered towards the northeast side of the mountain where we were at, and that was kind of what was really wild. Is yes, it did fly right over us.
Yeah.
What kind of speed? Crazy. What kind of speed are we talking? Was it a slow? Was it fast? Was it jerky? Was it smooth?
It was kind of slow actually when it passed us and it flew overhead. You know, it kind of looked like, you know, it was going to land maybe. You know, and it was coming pretty slow, and it just went off into the distance. And the movement of it was what got me, because it was just bouncing. Like it wasn't still. It wasn't going super fast. It was like it was just kind of watching things.
And how was it lit up? How was it lit up when you saw it coming over you for the first time? Was it strobing? Was it just a bright light?
It looked kind of like a dark colored craft when it flew over, and I could just see the colors of it. You know, it almost looked a little bit like a drone or a plane when it came over us, and it was just kind of floating over us, like it was just blinking lights around it. But when it got off into the distance a little bit, it kind of changed. It changed the way it was moving. It changed the way it looked. It was jumping around.
Now, did you notice the standard green and red running lights of regular airplanes? Was that?
No. It wasn't like a regular running lights on a boat or a plane or anything like that. It was just it was going like in a circular motion around the craft.
Wow.
Like a steady motion.
Unbelievable stuff, guys. Unbelievable. Now, Chris, I know that you went ahead and made or contacted MUFON about this, right?
Yes, sir.
And what did that conversation go? How did that go?
Well, I called the director, I guess is what it was, of Colorado MUFON, and he told me how to file the report online. Told me that an agent would be directed towards me that would be contacting me as soon as I filed it, and he was right. As soon as I filed it, within the next day or so, I got an email at work where they wanted details about what had happened, where I was stationed, where I was looking, and they're probably going to be going out there any time to find pretty much exactly our location. And I don't know if they're going to camp there too, or what exactly they're going to do, but they're going to follow up with it. Sounds like they're pretty good about trying to get to the bottom of it. I know they're going to call me on the phone and do another interview, and go further.
Now, I think you also said that when you called, you weren't the only person who had contacted them about this particular sighting.
Yeah, that's right. He asked me a couple times to make sure like what night it was and what day it was, and I told him, not thinking it was a real big deal. He said, well, the reason I'm asking is because we have other corresponding reports in that exact location from that roughly that same night, that night before that night. And, he said that was good. That was exciting to him, so they could, see if it all went together. And apparently so far it's all going together.
And just to mention again, I believe a lot of the activity that you saw that night, that morning, it was very early morning, was about midnight, 12:30 a.m., September 2nd. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The first one we saw, I don't know when it left. It was out there all night long. The second one that Jake talked about, it wasn't out there all night. It traveled off and took off. But that first one, it moved around a little bit. But until we went to bed, as far as I know, it was still. I almost didn't want to go to sleep. I couldn't stop looking at it, but had to go to sleep.
And then how much longer did you stay out there? How long did you camp out there? Was that
we left the next day, maybe around noon, 1:30.
But that evening we probably stayed up till what time?
We were up until close to 5 in the morning before we finally went to the tent, called it a night. But we were up most of the night.
The night of the sighting?
The night of the sighting. We just kept sitting there talking, waiting a little bit, 20 minutes, go back over to where we could, get a clear view of it. and it was just still sitting there. We'd go back to the fire, sit around, talk a little bit, and go back, and it was still there. I mean, it was just there for us to see all night, pretty much.
Amazing stuff. Well, I guess we, to be honest here, we have to say that at this point in time, it is an unidentified flying object.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see what MUFON, if they come up with anything, putting these other reports together with yours. What else could it be? It's either some type of unknown governmental object, flying object, or it's something else, right?
Definitely something. Yeah, they're hopefully, they'll find out more, by talking to other people and everything like that. But it's unidentified, whatever it is. If it was something we owned or not, I don't know. But it's nothing I'd ever seen before, ever.
And just by the way it flew, the way it kind of bounced, doesn't sound like something that we would build, does it? To you?
No, not at all. I've never seen a helicopter or anything, bounce like that and float around, and the way it jumped around everywhere. Especially the one that was, you can see in the video, that was just dancing all over the place. I mean, it was crazy.
Wow. Well, guys, I want to first of all say thank you for watching the show. Thank you for contacting me with this sighting, and thanks for being here tonight. A lot of people, when they do see things, they don't necessarily want to go public about it. So having you guys on was really great.
Well, I think, it's a good thing. People need to see what's going on. There's too much going on out there, so it's definitely something that I wanted to tell you about as soon as I saw it.
And I'm glad you did. Well, listen, Chris, Jake, thanks again. Please keep me updated if you do hear any more, out of your MUFON report or anything else. And of course, if you have any more sightings, don't hesitate. Let me know. We'll talk about them.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Rick.
Okay. Chris Turner, Jake Haire, excuse me. Thanks again for being on the show, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, later, man.
Bye-bye. Good night, everyone.
answer is to